Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of T3PO Live.
Pay attention, it's showtime.
That's right, Jose. It is showtime, and we have a wonderful panel with a myriad of different topics to discuss right here. Hopefully we'll get to them all, but that's okay, because you know what? That's just more content for next time if we don't. But let's go ahead and have some of our panelists on right now. They're waiting in the back room right now. Please welcome Lou Wasserman's Ghost and Barry Place 28. Thank you so much for coming on board, guys, and joining me here. I am grateful every week. Thank you.
Well, carrying on from your intro, my siestas are getting shorter and shorter. And it's all your fault.
Isn't that the truth right there? It is, man, getting, ooh, it's you know what? There is a little bit of a grind there, but every single time in the lead up to this show, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Do I have everything ready? Do I have everything? Do I have this? You know, it's if you're feeling tired, all this, but the recharge of energy that comes when you know that the audience is waiting there for you, and it's just so delightful. So thank you so much,
the audience and you guys. And you guys. I come into this sometimes, I will admit, in my advanced state of being, saying, well, it's time for the show. I'll do this, and then I'll take a nap. I come in ready for that. By the time we're done, I'm so keyed up, there ain't no napping happening around here.
That's actually for sure. Bob, do you have similar thoughts?
You know what? I think Lou's gonna be doing a Tiki Room all day long, even after this podcast. So
well, I do anyway. I do the Hawaiian war chant in the original Hawaiian, by golly, and drive the kids crazy when I'm on that ride. You should see the looks I get when kids suddenly say, wait a minute, somebody besides those birds is singing, and I'm over there going, and they go, and I just smile at them as I do it, and they're like, and they hop one seat further away. But
yeah, I do it just to embarrass my daughter while we're in the Tiki Room sometimes. But Tiki Room has a special meaning in my heart too, because I named my cat after the Tiki Room, so it was awesome. Tiki was her name, and
you named your cat Room.
Tiki.
Oh,
hello.
okay.
This is gonna be a fun show. Woo!
Well, that's that joke about the farmer who named his rooster Robinson because he Crusoe. Anyway.
Oh, not bad. Not bad.
I got 1 million of them, and if you don't watch out, I'll give you all 1 million right.
Dre, you better take over.
Yeah.
Well, don't even worry, because let's go ahead and have Disney take the wheel right here. Scott Gooston actually with this update for you. Hey folks, if you're part of that Magic Key lawsuit, well, you're going to be getting your $65 check in the mail anytime now. If you're part of the $9.5 million Disneyland Magic Key class action lawsuit, you should receive an email tomorrow, June 14th, with a link to the claim. Your payment of $65.67. Disney previously agreed to settle a lawsuit that impacted 103,431 Dream Key annual pass holders. A lot of people said to me, hey, this ain't going anywhere. They're going to settle it out, and that's going to be the end of it. And
they did, and you get paid. So what's wrong with that?
Well, what I'm saying is that it was going to be some undisclosed deal, and it was going to be working out in Disney's favor. Well, sure enough, the mouse had to pay a little bit, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall here, because with the next year's Dream Key or Magic Key program, they eliminated the Dream Key, made a bunch of changes, they added a whole host of terms to the TOS. You could see that.
And if you were not in the group that gets paid on this one, don't worry, boys and girls. There are lawsuits coming for the next 20 years. You'll get in one, honest.
Isn't that the truth? Bob, what'd you think about this? Because I don't know if you had a Dream Key at this point or not. I know some people that I knew enrolled in the program. I know some people didn't. What was your status?
So I had not enrolled into the Dream Key because at the point when they brought the Magic Keys back, I was kind of disappointed. And at the same time, it was like, oh, well, we're selling them right now. Typically, I always bought them around my bonus time for work. And it was not that time of the year because I think it was around August they brought these out. Right. And I was like, I'll just hold off for a few months and I'll buy one. And then a few months later, they went off sale, and they were off sale for over a year before I could finally buy one. So I never got the Dream Key. My feeling was that, there was a good case here because you basically were being told, hey, you have no blackout dates whatsoever, but you got to make a reservation. Well, if you can't make a reservation, you can't go to the park. Well, then you're blocked out, So I think there was a good case there to, go over. The problem is that, as usual, Disney settled out of court. And then, the people are getting a paltry 65, 67, which, hey, they're getting some, if they go ahead and submit it. But to me, it's like, that's such a bummer. I mean, I don't know any place where you can, have or have a Magic Key that is unblocked, and yet you still have to make a reservation anywhere. I mean, Disney's the only theme park still doing this. And it's still kind of a bummer because to me, I still feel like they're, keeping us from going. And the other thing that drives me nuts too is that, even if you have the Inspire Key now, the Dream Key had no blackout dates whatsoever. Now you actually have some blackout dates for that 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's. So it's a big bummer that they changed the Dream Key, and it just seems like the Magic Key keeps getting worse and worse and worse. You keep getting less and less and less.
From what you're telling me about when they offered it for sale, not being around the end of the year when people get bonuses or the entire rest of the marketing universe of the United States of America, at least, is all based around giving you deals to spend your tax refund on in April. And that they says they didn't really want to sell it in the first place, because if that's what everybody, I don't know about anybody else, but my email in April and May is chock full of, hey, here's how to spend your refund, as if it wasn't your money to begin with that you got no interest on during the year that they held it for you. Right. But anyway, I just look at this and I say 65, 67, and this was on things that were sold when to begin with. When did they start doing this?
Was it August of 2021, I believe?
So think about the inflation between August of 2021 and now. And if they hadn't done it now, if they'd fought it another 2 years, you literally would have gotten enough money to have one Dream Key at Disneyland prices. So,
well, speaking of Dream Keys and Magic Keys, it's interesting because they recently stopped selling And all at once, by the way, this is kind of weird. They actually, what is it, classified as a pause officially and not just running out of supply. This was interesting because we have been covering the story for quite a bit, I believe since March, since they reopened, Magic Key sales. The, the top 3 tiers had just been, open for all of this time. And now right before summer, right when this new season ticket offer just occurred, now we're pausing all Magic Key sales. I'm guessing they are trying to push people to buy those tickets because obviously, even if they sell a ticket at a very heavily discounted price, the per cap spend, at least per day, is much higher than the when you average out all the Magic Key sales and their access and so forth. Bob, was that your takeaway from it?
Yeah, so I actually have 2 takeaways, and one is just like yours. I think they're trying to sell those tickets. 2, I think that the passes have been available for several months now, and there's been no pent-up demand for them, and they weren't really selling that well. And I think what's going to get ready to happen here, which I hope I'm totally wrong, is that they're going to build up this pent-up demand for people to get Magic Keys, and they're going to go, oh, guess what? We're raising our prices again, which they started doing last year. And who knows, we're going to see, maybe, I don't know if we're going to see any new Magic Keys, but we're definitely going to see an increase in price, and they're going to start selling them again. I think that's what's going to happen. And it's probably going to happen right at the end or just after summer,
Well, you also have to consider that I would imagine for people who have been some kind of annual pass purchaser over the years, the merch sales to those people are at a much lower level than the average guy who shows up one day to go to Disneyland.
Right.
Because you've been exposed to all this stuff for years, and you've got your rose gold ears, and you've got your whatever, you show up and you spend a little money on eating, but unless there's some really neat new toy at a high price, they're not making on you what they're making on the civilians, so to speak.
My take on that is that I think that you're right. There people who are going to the park are going to spend a lot of money. I went to Disneyland Paris last year and spent a ton of money, in that 2 days I was there, because I was like, I'm there for 2 days. That's exactly. However, I will tell you, I'm friends with a lot of, friends and family members that have Magic Keys, and they consistently do buy stuff all the time. I buy food and trinkets and things like that. Now, maybe they're not high ticket priced items, and maybe I'm not buying in bulk, but I'm buying throughout the year. And I got to tell you, like my sister-in-law, every time there's a new popcorn bucket, she's getting that popcorn button. She's not getting just one. She might be buying 2 or 3. It's crazy. And especially with all the ones I have for Pixar Fest.
How old is she and how big is her garage? Sooner or later, the rubber hits the road on that stuff, and you start saying, how can I get rid of it? As opposed to how
she's already having problems with storage, but and she's in her 50s. But the thing is that she is a Disney kid at heart, and she loves buying this stuff. But it's not just her. I mean, I have friends like that as well.
Sure.
And then, hey, I've got my daughter. My daughter has a Magic Key with me, and now that summer's out, I mean, seriously, I just in the last 2 weeks that she's been out of school and I've taken her, I've already bought a couple of new stuffed animals and, all sorts of, candy and food there. And so, we do take some treats and things, but I mean, I'm buying like dinners and I'm buying.
I wasn't talking about food and treats and stuff like that. What I was saying was you've got your 3 or 4 or 5 hoodies or sweatshirts or the basic t-shirts or the stuff everybody gets, which means the price to Disney of getting more of them made is lower because they're buying them in bigger numbers, and therefore the profit margins are higher. All of that stuff the veterans have already got. That's all.
But the thing is, they keep coming out with new things like Pixar Fest. You got Donald's 90th birthday. Why. You've got all these things that keep coming out. Like, seriously, I mean, we just bought my daughter, another, t-shirt and a sweatshirt. And I know you're just talking about those, but I keep finding myself buying those because it's the newest, greatest thing that's out, or it's because it's something she's into. And
I'm always surprised that they sell as many sweatshirts in hot Southern California as they do. I mean, because it's mostly a locals park compared to Florida. I know it's hotter and stickier and awfuler in Florida weather-wise, but not if you're from Missouri and you're there visiting and going home and going to wear it in the cold.
Well, right now it's still kind of cool in the evenings. I know it's not compared to, back east or anything like that, but people are still buying those. But come midsummer, oh no, people aren't going to be buying a whole lot of sweatshirts.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. It's not that annual pass holders don't spend money. They do. But per day, per guest spend,
exactly, especially when they're there 20 days out of the year or whatever.
And that's why those reservations are skewed towards ticket holders.
Now think about this. I've been keeping track. Some of our compatriots here in the wonderful world of pro and beyond have been at the previews today for Tiana in Florida. They never opened. They got put into boarding groups, but then they sat there staring at their phone all day, and nobody's gone on it today. So it's and people got there in the morning and got on. They had reservations for the park and they did everything right, and they keep checking their phones and it says, well, the virtual queue is currently closed to guests not already in a group. But then you go and say, okay, but did a group get on? No. Now boarding is paused, and they've been putting screenshots of their phones up all day long since this morning, and it ain't happening. And that's a whole day out of your life that you might have skipped work for or had something else to do and not intended to be there. And you still had to get there early and get into the parking lot and get on the ferry boat or the monorail or whatever. And if you wanted to go kill until they tell you get on at another park, you had to get from one to the other. And you spend a whole heck of a lot of your day transiting locations rather than doing stuff. So that's
kind of like, go buy another Spirit jersey there, Lou.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, that's the thing, Lou. So, okay, it's one thing for these annual pass holders to come in for these previews sessions for Tiana's Bayou Adventure and, take all the time to do that. But at least, hey, maybe you live in the area. Maybe it's still a hassle, but not so big of a deal as opposed to these regular guests who are going to be going on this thing, June 28th now. And they're going to be expecting, that this ride be operational, especially if they plan a whole vacation around it.
Or if they buy an upgrade pass to make sure they do get on it. And all that gets you is the right to get on a list of people that, if it opens, will get on it.
So these images were provided by Marvin the Movie Monster. And his app started like this. And then later... it went like this. So, and now we're getting reports that this is the Tiana troubles that we were kind of teasing.
You thought you were going to go have fun. Instead, you're going to be like a bump on a log, like that one was.
Here we go. I'll repeat this information when Pro Show ends and everybody comes in. So just giving you a fair warning there. But Tiana's Bayou Adventure annual pass holder preview, now boarding paused. Scott Gooston, if you're an AP looking to preview Tiana's Bayou Adventure today, the 1 p.m. virtual queue distribution will not be offered. The ride went down shortly after 10 a.m. and has not reopened. Again, Thursday is the last day of AP previews before the ride officially opens on June 28th. Oh, goodness gracious. It just keeps having problems.
So in other words, you're going to have a week of nothing before the official. A week of hey, we got 5 or 6 days in a row. We don't have to worry about getting people on it, so we can fix some of this stuff. We hope, right?
I know, right?
Or is we bunting up for the parade or something? I don't know.
I am getting reports from our sources that are they're very close to the situation, and they're suggesting that there are a myriad of problems happening behind the scenes. I can't go and disclose them just yet because I'm still getting final approvals for that. But I could just tell you, folks, they are having massive, massive issues. This is a nightmare. It is very apparent now that they try to rush this opening, and they're really paying the price for it.
And when is it supposed to open in California? And how much time do they have to fix it on that one?
Well, the rumor is that they're supposed to open in November, but here's the thing. With all the things that are going on, plus the stuff that I know that's happening over at Disneyland, I do not see this thing opening in November. In fact, I've been telling some of my friends and family members, I think it's going to be postponed until, beginning of 2025.
Yeah, because once they get close enough to Christmas that the crowds are there anyway, it doesn't do them any good to have, add that to it and B, have all this stuff happen again. I mean, I'm just hoping at least they're learning from their mistakes on one coast, things that they won't have to fix or rediscover anew on the other one. So,
well, it's going to be interesting. I am going to be in California around that time, Bob. I just learned about this before the show, so I got to get with you and, link up some dates there. But I'm going to be there around that time. We'll see whether or not it's open. And if it is, well, I'll just have to report on the ground myself. How about that?
And by the way, I should have found the article and brought it in here for you. There's a new article out from some outfit that rates such things, that polled people in the United States on every major theme park, national park, a big attraction that people go to for vacations, on quote unquote re-ride ability. On you've been once, you'd like to go again. I'm not talking about specific attractions, but the overall place.
Right.
You know what the top one among amusement parks on that list of 100 places is? Can you guess which company it's not? I bet you can't guess which other company it's not.
Oh,
would you believe Dollywood is in 4th place on the overall list, the top-rated theme park for people want to go back?
Oh,
isn't that interesting?
I've never been there, and I want to go.
It's right up the road, and I haven't been there because I've been distracted by other things that I wish I hadn't been distracted by in the 6 years I've lived out here. But yeah,
So Lorena Creel, very dear friend of the channel, part of that Park Place network of channels, actually was able to get on or at least get access to a second preview of this thing. I don't remember if it was part of the AP or anything. I'm not quite remembering now, but I'm trying to find her tweet on this. Okay, I don't think I can find it. But she was saying that she had huge problems trying to get on. She initially was scheduled in the morning or mid-afternoon, and then it kept getting pushed back. I think it got pushed back like 5 hours or something. I think it was terrible. It was awful. Hello there, folks. I know WWE Pro Raid. Thank you so much, Olaf. Do very much appreciate it. We're just talking about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. If you're all coming in right now. And how the 1 p.m. virtual queue distribution will not be offered because it went down again. But Lorena went on this thing, and she was like, this thing has no rewrite ability whatsoever. And it's so much of a hassle to get on. This is not her words, but this is just kind of my interpretation of them. That it's not generally worth it. We actually have people in the chat right now. I know Rogue Attraction was just commenting on this, saying that, I didn't even try bothering to get into the preview, just didn't care enough. Exactly, 100%. I mean, it really is taking out a lot of the enthusiasm for this attraction that didn't have much to begin with, I will say.
Oh my goodness. I just happened to check the progress of our friends who are there trying to get on things. And one who has been, but is not there today, is Ron Bradley. Who was going to Inside Out 2 today with his kid. He's an 11-year-old boy. If anybody wants to ask my insights later, next post, that was at 12:38. At 2:11, it says, my theater might be run by Disney. We're in the middle of watching Inside Out 2, and the movie just shut off.
No!
Oh, no. That's horrible.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my.
Well, we'll be talking about Inside Out 2 in just a moment. But, man, this is just all... when things are looking up, they still go down, it would seem. And I wanted to bring this up. So there is a YouTube channel called the Splash Mountain channel. I've been posting some really, really great stuff right here. He has a compilation of all of the mishaps and problems, or at least a lot of them anyway, that they were able to capture. Oh, go ahead.
The whole loop of the song in that part is 30 seconds?
It's very, very short. You'll see Lewis, and he'll reset his entire animation loop about, like, I want to say 4 to 8 seconds in.
Are you serious?
It's crazy. Oh yeah. So, hopefully
they got a deal on shorter tapes from Memorex.
Exactly right.
They were all factory seconds and short lots, so they looped them together. And
You can see they've just had so that's I can't blame the music, but the dialogue here doesn't line up with the screens, and then the screens have been they've been having problems with like flickering or electrical. That's what I believe Block Mickey posted videos on. Very, very strange. But you can there's just look at Lewis in this scene right here. At first he's moving, and then he just stops. Right there. Like, and this has been happening with a lot of these audio animatronics. Like I said, we have sources that are looking into this, and they're experiencing a myriad of problems behind the scenes. It is just, if the ride is running, then your chances of getting right, exactly, it's not running right. Your chances of getting a full experience are very nil, to the point where it makes Rise of Resistance look consistent, probably, with all the issues that could go wrong with that attraction, as Bob, you very well know about all that. Now, I wanna show just this little snippet right here. This is from the same channel. They uploaded, I think, it looked like it was recorded on a VHX camcorder back in the day. This is from, I believe, 1992 with Tokyo's Splash Mountain. So I see a lot of people comparing the footage of how Splash Mountain looked at like one of the last days of operation to the very new Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And I always go, that wasn't quite the right comparison, because you're comparing an attraction almost end of life, and
where
one that they weren't maintaining all that well.
Cutting back on maintaining things, knowing it was going to close anyway. Exactly.
So it's like, well, is that really a fair comparison? I just want to go ahead and take you over to 1992 Tokyo and how these figures moved and how much articulation you got from these figures. Okay, this is the finale scene. I want you to take note of the functions. Look at their joints. Look at how much movement that they have in their arms, their legs. See the show dancing right there. You can see, all that going, all that articulation. You can see all that movement from these figures.
For those with a memory, a lot of those figures, the chickens and the geese or whatever they are, they're making the same moves they made in America Sings.
Right.
I mean, they really are. It's the same dance, the same, which is nothing wrong with that. But that shows you how long, with maintenance issues, I'm sure, over the years, those things have been doing those things. They've been making that move to that same beat. In fact, I would not be surprised to find out that the actual recording of the song for this was done with the same timing as the song from America Sings that most of these characters were doing there, to make it easier to just unplug them, move them over, plug them back in, change the costume maybe, and you're in business. So
you can see right here just how much movement, and these were not lead figures. These were complementary figures to the figures that were really the crux of the story right here. And so when you compare that to, because I've seen a lot of this online, like, oh, look, even the critters are articulate. Not really. You can see, this is from the side here, so you'll never see this angle, admittedly. But you can see like the possum in the foreground, or the bunny right there on the podium there, how limited their articulation actually is. And that's kind of the difference. I understand that, people are like, well, Splash Mountain needed an upgrade. And I don't necessarily disagree with that opinion. But the idea that these figures are somehow super revolutionary, look, the lead figures are, however, with that revolution in design and electronic components and so forth, that does lead to their own problems. But the complementary figures were far more animated on Splash Mountain than they ever were here, and there were more of them.
And when the principal figure is the new, improved, highly articulate toy, it just redoubles how mediocre the others are when they're not even as good as the principals were in the old version. I mean, the thing about having a really good one amongst a bunch of, I don't know all the technical terms, but the second tier is that it makes the second tierness show up bigger because you have the comparison. If you have a whole scene full of second tier, that's fine. But if you got one standout in a room full of wannabes, well, all you have to do is watch a season of American Idol to see that effect take place.
So sad. It's just it's really it's quite frustrating. This should be a consistent experience, especially with the new technology that these Imagineers have. Currently, this was an attraction that was operating for 30 plus years before it actually went down. So the fact that they can't get this running consistently, whether the attraction is up or not, is very disturbing. We were going over, folks, before the pro show raid, which thank you so much for not touching that dial and coming on in here, that yes, the virtual queues have been canceled for the remainder of the day, as apparently the attraction was up and then went down at like 10 a.m.
Hold that frame right the way it is. Go back.
Yes.
Whoever wrote that ad for the Magic Kingdom Quick Guide never thought your Magic Kingdom fantasy into reality would be the rides work.
Exactly.
They never defined the fantasy as being, competence. And that's now the fantasy. That's now what are you doing? I'm going to Disney World. Really? Yeah. What do you want to see most? I'd like the rides to work.
Yeah,
I'd like people to get in to see them and have them actually work. That would be a great thing. That's my fantasy.
It's so bizarre. Bob, I know you are speaking from more of an annual pass holder's perspective, but I don't care who you are, whether you are a one-time visitor or an annual pass holder. This has got to be frustrating.
Well, sure. I mean, this ride's having a lot more issues than I think most of the rides that have come out. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, look, we had problems with Rise of the Resistance for many, many months, and they delayed it before they finally brought it out. And the thing is that it hasn't opened yet. I'm trying to give this a benefit of the doubt because they do have a little bit of time left before the grand opening date. But if this continues to open and they're continuing to have problems, it's really, really awful and unfortunate because one, a lot of people are going to be disappointed and they're not going to want to come back, or they're going to say, you know what? People may say, oh, I had tickets to go to Walt Disney World in a couple months, but because they don't have these, issues worked out with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, maybe I'll hold off till next year to do my vacation.
And the longer it takes and the more people decide to hold off, that other looming reason to hold off is out there ticking away towards its opening, called Epic something. It's like, why don't I was going to go between, but maybe I should just wait till the whole town is up and running.
And this is something I was talking about with my fellow streamers, Theme Park Casual and Cordy in California last night, and Pete McDevitt, who was on our show. And the thing we were talking about is that, hey, you got Disney, who used to come out with, these amazing rides and attractions. They were the go-to, right? And now you've got Epic Universe and Universal, who is biting at the heel just to take over the competition. They've been wanting to do it for many, many years, and they've kind of found that niche. They are listening to their guests. They're building some amazing new attractions, and obviously this brand new theme park. But it's not just Epic Universe. They're growing over in Europe, and they're trying to grow over in Texas. All these little places they're trying to grow into just shows that they're willing to try to do something new and build something amazing. And the thing is, I'm sure they're going to have issues too, but they're going to work on these issues, or try to, before the ride releases. And it just seems like they just definitely tried to rush this ride. And that's the thing, is that I wish they hadn't tried to rush the ride, to be honest with you. As much as we have been obviously sharing our thoughts on how we're not really happy with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Look, I want Disney to do well and succeed, especially when it comes to these rides and attractions. I spend a lot of time in the parks. So my wish is that, hey, do it right, get it what you need to do to get it done. Am I necessarily going to like the attraction? I may or may not, I mean, I have a lot of friends who don't like Smuggler's Run over at, Galaxy's Edge, but they love, the ride attraction of Rise of the Resistance. So you've got those favorites and whatnot. But my whole thing is, let's get everything right, and try to launch this with a successful attraction rather than, hey, we're going to try to rush this out and get it out to the people because we want everyone to come out this summer. And I know that's why Disney's doing this. They're coming out the end of June. They want to hit that summer rush, but I'm afraid they're just going to miss the boat on this one.
Their problem is, if they had said, it ain't working, we shouldn't do this, let's wait 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and get it right and hit with a home run. At that point, they will be so close to, if not behind, Epic Universe. The best they can do is be seen as a reaction rather than as the one being reacted to.
Correct.
So you've got all of these well-meaning in the abstract, but impractical when they hit the reality of life, motivations going on. And I don't hear any of them being, let's give people the best show we can give them. I hear them, let's find an excuse.
Yeah.
Let's find a PR reason not to. But 620, that's going to be that's going to be the one I am most curious about. It's going to be Dark Universe.
Yep.
This next Universal announcement. For those who don't know, when you see that blue dark sky and a date, that's how Universal previews the fact that they're about to do another one of those reveals of one of the lands or portals or whatever you want to call it. But look, Universal is trying to make the best thing they can, whether there was a Walt Disney or a Joe Blow down the road, because they want to do the best, because they think that's the best way to make people happy and make people want to spend money and come back again. So you've got the goal of excellence in showmanship and presentation, and you've got the goal of the storytelling and the characters becoming beloved and all that. Both of those forces exist in the creation of Tiana, but I don't remember ever any of these. Well, maybe Superstar Limo, but where both parts don't work. Okay, where both the technical and the thematic don't work together. That's pretty hard to overcome. I don't care how much tinkering you do afterwards, because if you get it up and running perfectly to tell the story that was no good as a story, what have you got? You got some flashing lights and some robots and something to spend 5 minutes out of the sun in, but you don't have an experience that makes you say, gosh, that was great, let's do it again. And if you have all of that, and the robots are wiggling like they're going to fall down, and the lighting isn't working, and the audio is muffled, then that would have been good if I could have understood that wonderful story. You got to get it all right. You got to get it all right to have something that used to be second nature, what everything at Disney was, even if it wasn't, like you said, the one that you particularly liked compared to others. And you have to have enough variety amongst those that everybody's got some that they really like and that they come back for. Who's going to come back a second time for this reason, as their reason? And if you have 20 or 30 or 40 or however many attractions, and 5 of them are not terribly rewritable, okay. 10, 15, every new one that they make a big deal out of, we got trouble in River City. So it's a trend, and it's going the wrong way.
So I think a couple points here, and I'm seeing some of the things in the chat, like Pam is saying, hey, Test Track had a lot of problems, when it first opened, to be fair. And there's a lot of attractions that have had problems before. I think the difference, though, between Universal and Disney right now is, if you look at the difference, Universal is doing a great job of building that suspense, right? They've been doing it for many of their attractions, and especially they're doing it very, very well for Epic Universe, right? This tweet has been out for a couple of days now, and I've just been biting at the lips, going, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what they're going to say." And the thing, there's been no pent up, enticement from Disney regarding Tiana's Bayou Adventure. People kept going, "Oh, what's the story going to be about?" And then finally Disney comes out with this blog, and it's like, oh really? That's what it's about? Oh, okay.
Co-op.
Hey, who's going to be in it, and what's going to happen? Oh, that's what. Okay, got it. And how many critters going to be? There's just nothing there to kind of get you enticed, and excited about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And then on top of that, like you said, they're just not taking the time to work these little kinks out. And again, I know we're mentioning it, like some of the people here in the chat, many rides at Disney have had issues with, before they open. It's not. I think it's just being made a little bit more because there's a lot of there haven't been preview issues with attractions like Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That's one of the things. And then even Theme Park Casual says, and that's been my issue, tech stuff happens, the story, theming, and design quality are subpar. It's so bad it almost looks like I made it. Wow. I didn't know you could make something so bad there, Theme Park Casual. No, but he's right? I mean, the thing is that you expect this technical, advancement in technology. You expect something amazing, and then, when nothing happens together well, like the tech and the story and the theming and the quality of design, it's like, well, what are we going to see here, and what's the big deal? It to me, it just keeps getting worse for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Yeah. And look, eventually it's going to open. They're going to work out some of these kinks, and there are not going to be so many issues. But I'm just really disappointed with how the whole thing has been rolled out, because from day one, since 2020, when they announced that they were going to replace Splash Mountain, regardless of the apprehension that many of us had regarding the fact that they were taking away Splash Mountain, it's just been one, disappointment after another from Disney about, oh, okay, this is what it looks going to look like. Oh, that's not what it's going to look like. Oh, it's going to look like this now. Oh, it's not going to look like that at all. Oh, it's going to look like this now at D23. Oh, right. It's not. And
they never connect the dots. Let me ask you a question. You have a ride that everybody loves, that's been popular for 30 years, that's been some people's favorite in the whole world. And you announce, well, that's been great, but it's come to the end of its run because we have something even better and newer, and we're going to need that space, or we're going to need that. That's all. You might be sad, you might be resentful, but you'd understand it. But when the reason they tell you they're doing it is because all of you millions of people who have loved and cherished this thing, well, you've been loving and cherishing racism.
Right. And that's
what are you telling the people that loved it? You're telling them that they were all part of a conspiracy that got some guy killed in a street thing in some city. That's you're all to blame.
Fair point.
Because you bought the lie that it wasn't. Well, that's not a lie. It isn't. But at that point, you already got 2 strikes against you, winning people over to your new version. It better be awfully good.
Well, I agree with you. I think if they had just come out and said, hey, look, ride's getting old, time to replace it. We're going to come out with something newer, better. This is going to be great. I think it would have been a lot better than, 22,000 people, signed this petition.
But it wouldn't have been honest.
It's a racist ride. We need to get rid of it.
Because the reason is none of those reasons. The reasons is virtue signaling their politics.
Yeah, and that's the big problem we're having with Disney.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so I had some meat on this discussion because I think it's an amazing one. Not to beat up on Pam Empress, that's not what we're doing. But you bring up Test Track. Test Track. The thing is that was a brand new ride system converting an old one, which was a Omnimover attraction, World of Motion. Right?
Rocket Ride, same thing.
Well, yeah, and Rocket Rods was based
a new
a lot
system,
right, and converting an old one. So yeah, I mean, problems with a new attraction from scratch, that's going to happen. Rise of Resistance, kind of the same way, although that was there was foundations that were laid with multiple attractions before them, but it was obviously a new implementation of that, right? Okay, we get that. This was an existing attraction, and people might say, well, okay, yeah, but it always happens. Well, not really. I remember when Tower of Terror was going to be converted into Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, okay, that the ride system was obviously reused, but there was a lot of work put in to get the most out of that ride system than it had ever been designed for originally. In Guardians of the Galaxy, as opposed to Tower of Terror, the ride vehicle in the elevator shaft never stops moving. Mm-hmm. It bounces, and it gives all kinds of gravitational forces to make you believe what you're seeing on screen and what you're feeling in an attraction is authentic. This didn't. There was not some overhaul to this ride system in the form of Tiana from Splash Mountain that took this to new limits and new heights. It's the same ride system doing the exact same thing as before, and the when you take a ride with such a legendary status and replace it, even while everybody loves that old ride, and if you look at the majority of polling out there, folks, from multiple websites, Some of them
around the world, not just in California or Florida, everywhere.
Exactly. If you replace a ride like that, then it has to be better. This is what Tony Baxter always said back in the day. He's like, whatever we do, it has to be better, because he was part of that, generation in which they were taking down rides, and sometimes they would hit them out of the park, sometimes they wouldn't. You understand that lesson well. He tried to impart his wisdom on this team. They told him to get lost. So just
because they didn't care about any of that. They cared about making a political statement. And promoting an agenda and a philosophy based on a lie, that the movie was racist, which it was not. It never was. It never would be. And that's why I've said now a few times on these streams in the last few weeks, the moral of this story, beyond technical and beyond the individual story, don't let a lie go unanswered.
Yeah.
Not for a day, let alone for 30 years or 40 years or whatever it's been. Because then everybody just assumes, oh, well, what's interesting, and I've told this story before, but I think it bears retelling. When Splash Mountain opened in soft open at Disneyland, I happened to be on it.
Right.
And there were the people with the clipboards as you got off, because they wanted to know what your reaction was. And apparently what I was told was that the big reaction was, because so few people had seen the film, it was great. We loved the ride. We loved the characters, but we wish we knew more about what the heck the story was about.
Right.
So that's when they added in retrofit those signs in the queue explaining a little bit about the context of the story.
Right.
Well, think about that, not in that specific instance, but think about that as a marketing philosophy, as a management philosophy. The philosophy being, if we can make it better between the soft open and the open, let alone between the concept and the execution, we will. Not, if people say there's something missing, we will tell them that they're wrong, we're right, there's nothing missing, and how dare you say otherwise. It's the audience's fault if we fail. It's the audience's fault. And I mean, putting aside the fact that that doesn't work, that it doesn't cover up the problems, that people resent it. People feel that contempt for themselves. They feel that they're saying, A, you've all been celebrating racism, and B, we're going to take it down because we want to prove we're not like you plebes. And then if you disagree, you're worse than you were before. And how dare you? How dare you think we're something other than a genius, when all we've been showing you for months and months and months is how carefully we've been researching eating all that good food on the company dime in New Orleans. And we've researched it enough to know that, yeah, okay, there are no mountains in Louisiana, but now there are, because we have mandated with our mighty hand, like splitting the Red Sea.
Yeah, Charles Neston.
We decided, it's, what it is? The outer limits. Do not attempt to adjust your picture. We will control the vertical. We will control the horizontal. And if the horizontal looks like vertical to you, you're drunk. Go home.
Well,
but before you go, have one of our $16 boozies on the way out the door.
It's hubris for sure. And if we can go live with the story, like I said, I just got to get clarification from my sources that I can actually go live with some of this stuff, this information that we're hearing. They might have spent a lot more on this attraction than anybody initially realized.
Well, everything they make, they spend more than they admit. What amazes me, never mind your inside sources, who certainly have a certain amount of vested interest not to be sources, because if they get caught, some of that money that was spent on them won't be anymore. But my God, it's just their hubris is beyond belief. In the case, for example, of these movies they shoot in England, where they have to release the real numbers sooner or later in order to get the tax breaks, where it's a public record. But nobody will watch that. They'll believe us. And by the way, if the movie came out and made $500 million more, it wouldn't matter what they spent, because it's a hit. But do all that and not be a hit, and you've got trouble, folks. Anyway, I guess my point is, whether it's the theme parks, or it's the movies, or it's Disney Plus shows, or it's architecture of taking a perfectly good building, tearing it down, building it back as a bland piece of junk, and putting a show out in the rain. It's a consistent management issue. It's not about any one person, even the people with big titles. It's about the one person with the big title whose basic reaction is to tell you who you're going to believe, my press release or your own lying eyes.
Well, don't worry, folks, because guess what? We're doing it again. Here we go. Test Track 3.0 is on the way right here. Okay, so this one, there's a little bit more. The pretext is just slightly different with this guy. Obviously, this is a GM-sponsored attraction, and you'll know that. Wait a minute, who sits on the board? I think it was, you know what? It was CEO of GM. Mary Barra sits on the board of Disney. That's interesting. Anyway, so because it's a GM-sponsored attraction, obviously, there's I think there's a 10-year contract in which they have to renew, and when they renew, there's a level of investment that comes along with that, and it has to be the latest and greatest in order to showcase that brand, right? And so I believe Mickey Views right here had a pretty big expose on what exactly they might be doing here, getting rid of that ugly looking canopy from the exterior. That's a big deal right there. And also too, it's predicted to cost about $100 million and go for an entire year. So the rumor is that it's not going to be coming back until I think the summer of 2025, which they'll need something because obviously, there's I don't know if you guys have heard, but I think there's a third gate or something being created on down I-4 right there by the biggest competitor, something or another. Anyway, they're going to need.
I'm sorry, Vash. We are professionals here, and you must use correct terminology. It ain't a gate; it's a portal.
Oh, I see. Yes, a portal into an amazing new world right there. Which, by the way, have you seen the Cinesational Lagoon show out there? Man, phenomenal stuff. Universal's doing. You got to cover that.
And guess what? It all works. They announced the opening night. It opened, and everything worked. God, you'd almost think they've been working really hard to make sure that hit its target, wouldn't you?
That's true. That's something you can definitely.
And by the way, the fact that they literally the day after the lousy CommuniCore stuff opened said, "Well, now we have something to soak up the people, so we can shut this thing down and get started on it." Because just as many people who go to Epcot want to take a fast-paced automotive adventure and zoom around and have fun as want to sit in the rain watching six guys in a video of Encanto get wet. That's an equivalent experience. And the proof of that it's an equivalent demand and experience, you have to pay the same admission price to get in and see it.
That's true.
Consider that.
That's a fair point. The demand for this attraction was huge on the last day of operation right here. You can see just how many people were absorbed by attempting to get their last rides in on Test Track 2.0. It did suffer some problems, obviously, because Test Track always does. But it looks like they were able to get through quite a few.
We talk about the ghost of Walt being disgusted by all this. Gary Owens is crying somewhere, too. From World of Motion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yes, that is very true. Rogue, come on. Don't tease us with that. Was there a fight on that day as well? Put the details in the chat.
What day was it? Tuesday is fight day, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I know they must have one because,
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. The fight. That might make more sense right there. Well, you can see
the person holding the end of the line sign that tells you how long it is that was walking in this video. Don't they remind you of the guys with the chains and the two sticks at a football game?
Yes.
And isn't that what Disney keeps doing? Is moving the goalposts backward?
Well, they serve a similar purpose.
Well, I'm watching it and I said, "What does that remind me of?" And then it came to me. That's what it is. It's
that is exactly what it is, actually. So the construction walls went up. It is now officially closed, not going.
Oh, and I saw one of the Pixie Dust sites noting this event, and their big picture. You see down there in the middle, The new logo was revealed. Oh my God! Next thing you know, they'll have a Test Track under construction popcorn bucket for $17.95.
Oh boy.
The new logo, yeah, okay. Well, well, there you go.
And isn't it interesting? It used to be that it was GM. I guess they don't think people are smart enough to even know that Chevrolet is part of it, so they specifically now brand it to Chevrolet.
So the reason why they do that, Lou, is because GM at the time that this was coming up for renewal, they got a huge bailout from the government. So in order to separate themselves a little bit, that's why they have Chevrolet out there. That's the kind of...
Well, they also probably have to do it because the Test Track is in China being used to test the EVs that they'll sell as Chevrolets.
Yeah, well, that's a fair point as well.
We don't test them here anymore. They test getting them off the boat here. That's all.
But Bob, I want to get your insight on this because I know you have you have a heart out. So this is the cue for Ratatouille Adventure. I think this is the virtual queue return lane, I believe. You took a park that only had 5 or 6 rides, and you took a big one out. And now we are seeing the effects of this on the ecosystem of this park, this attraction, Star Park. You can see right here, 40 minutes for journey into your imagination with Figment. This is going to be some tough sledding, folks. Bob, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, well, we kind of saw that in Disneyland, right? When Fantasmic went away, and then they shut down, Splash Mountain, and they shut down, Haunted Mansion. I mean, everything kind of became a cluster, and everything just increased in.
Well, and isn't it happening now with this entertainment that's being canceled?
Well, yeah, that's going to happen too. We haven't even really talked about that a whole heck of a lot. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but yeah, I mean that's going to happen as well. It's just unfortunate, but I mean that's insane to see the line that long and that's just for the lightning lane. I mean, that's not even for the regular ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's lightning lane, not virtual queue. Sorry about that. I do apologize, Rogue Attraction. You got me right there, which is thankful for the correction because I don't want to spread disinformation. Yeah? But like you said, Bob, the demand that we're seeing when a big attraction like Test Track goes down is profound. This is why it's nice to have excess capacity, not living on the limits constantly. And then when an attraction goes down or an attraction needs to go down for maintenance, well, you can't bring it down because I don't know, some other attraction has gone down or
the proof of the change is at least when they put in Remy and they put in Guardians, those were new. That was new capacity. Well, Guardians not so much because of the energy stuff, but there was nothing back here. This was an added attraction at a Disney park in the last 20 years. Raise the roof and celebrate. Let's find some musicians from the crowd and have them form a band and have a party in a swamp. But when they take these things that have existed and say, well, we're going to shut it down for a year, 2, maybe 3, and therefore have less capacity.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is what happens quite a bit, not just Disneyland, but all the theme parks. So it's just unfortunate when things like this do happen because it does increase the wait times for everyone and makes everyone a little more irritable. But it's something that's just it happens. So I'm not going to go on too much. I mean, it's like I said, when certain things happen, there's a reason. Now, if they cause it themselves, like the shows that you started mentioning, Lou, that's a little bit different, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did just post recently a clip from That Park Place video of all of the entertainment that has been stripped from the Disneyland Resort over the last 10 years. Snow White got stuck in there.
All that. In fact, we shared it on our show last night. Thank you. We shared the actual post.
Well, thank you, Bob. I do appreciate it. But you can see right here. Let me see. Right there. That's all
right. So here's DCA and...
yeah.
There you go.
The myriad of entertainment that's been cut from the Disneyland Resort really, really is unfortunate. And again, entertainment as well assists in that capacity draw. It assists when an attraction goes down or when you don't have new attractions upcoming. All of these things work to complement the ecosystem of a guest driven experience like a theme park. It really is unfortunate to see that it's just this stuff going away like it is, especially at Disneyland.
And shows, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Shows get canceled all the time, and I get that. But here's what's happening, and this is what's crazy, is that we are going from Club Pixar, Doctor Strange Mystery of the Mystic Arts, Avengers Assemble, The Amazing Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Dance-Off, Operation Playtime featuring the Green Army Men, Five and Dime, Citizens of Buena Vista Street, and Paradise Garden Bandstand. And we're basically ending that as of June 30th, and we're only going to have Club Pixar and Citizens of Buena Vista Street. Now, I heard from some other friends that it sounds like Paradise Garden Bandstand. No, sorry. Five and Dime will still be around during the week, just not on the weekends. But still,
not on the weekends.
All those shows. What's that?
Not on the weekends. That's usually the opposite.
Not on the weekends, just on a week. But apparently, you're going to go from all those shows down to a handful. And it's like, where's the entertainment? Where's all this great stuff? And like, I know Vash, you and Jonas had a great, couple articles on this, on that Mark Park Place, where you talked about, hey, you've got this big, huge venue, like the Hyperion Theater that has, about 2,000 people that it holds, and used to have Aladdin and Frozen and, Rogers the Musical. And now you have nothing. And now I get it. Maybe they're going to disassemble that area and make it part of the new Avatar experience or land. And that's the rumor. But regardless, you were taking a huge chunk out of what could be a lot of, I don't know, how do you say it? Just there's so much that they're not offering at Disneyland that they could. And I think that they're making a big mistake by not doing this. Now, again, the rumor is that they're doing this because of, the union. But regardless if it's a rumor or true,
I think it's true.
Who's losing out on this? It's the guests and the customers coming, because
of course.
You're definitely not getting your money's worth when you could be. And Disney would be wise to actually keep something like that, because it does help congestion and everything at the parks.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't take this much entertainment right before summer down.
That's what I was about to say. The timing, not only with this, with when they chose to shut down Test Track, with all of these things. When did they ever do this in June and July ever in the past? If they did anything, it would be January after Christmas.
Right. That's what
everybody else does. We always talk about, Disneyland is more a locals park. Well, if they're locals, they go to school and they go to work, and summer is when people have time off and when they plan time off. So if you're going to say, well, since you're all planning to come here for the summer, we're going to give you reasons not to. We're going to give you half as much to do for twice as much money. The old formula for success lately.
It's ridiculous. I don't understand why they do it so late in the game. Now, I understand that this has a broader context with the unions and everything like that. So factor that in.
Listen, those big shows at the Hyperion, labor is a serious cost. But four guys with instruments walking around playing music, come on. The difference between the union rate and the not union rate is not going to break the bank at the Walt Disney Company. It just isn't. It just isn't.
Well, and that's also why we know this is union driven, right? Because it's not a cost thing necessarily. It's if you're going to do this, just understand what you're getting into, and to anybody else who's looking to unionize, here you go.
For anybody who has a sense of history, the French Revolution, what they called the guillotine was, quote, pour encourager les autres. In other words, it's not about the people whose heads you chop off. It's about all the other ones watching, worried about theirs.
Exactly.
And that's classic. And to think of all the places you can get away with this in Hollywood, for God's sakes, that you're going to theoretically intimidate a few people who were getting bupkis and now got into a union. Come on, pull that stuff in Florida, where there isn't any established industry by comparison anyway.
It's so frustrating. But Bob, I know you have got to go.
Yes.
Could you please go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you? I know you're doing some great stuff in the vlogger sphere. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So everyone, you can find me at BarryPlace28 on all my socials. So YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, and please come join me. I'm always in the theme parks or doing trivia with my daughter. I believe tomorrow night. And Lou, you're probably going to want to catch this, but I think I'm going to do tomorrow night. If I can't, I'm going to have to move to Thursday. But we're going to Knott's Berry Farm, so I'll be checking that out. And then I'm going to do a morning stream on Thursday at Disneyland. So come join the fun.
You're going to answer one question asked more by people into all this than anything else.
What
would Walt do? Only it's Walter not Walt Disney.
Yeah, Walter. Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, they're getting ready. They're celebrating their 90th anniversary for the not Mrs. Knott's chicken dinner. So that's pretty cool.
Love it. Love
it. And thank you so much, D Bud Martin, for saying to subscribe to Barry Place at my channel there. Please come join the fun. Thank you for having me on as always, Vash. It was great seeing you. And Lou, great to see you as well. So have
always a pleasure. Always.
Thank you.
Always. Even without
thank you so much, Bob.
Very syrup. Darn it. Anyway.
I'll call you later, good buddy.
And then there were
so much. And then there were two. We have, I think, at least one last story right here. Let's end on something at least. Let's end on something at least remotely positive right here. We'll have to do the CommuniCore some other time because I promised you last week, folks. I promised you this week, and it just we get going. What are you gonna do
when you have to take something out of the show? An empty void, devoid of decoration, let alone atmosphere and fun, is probably the best thing to leave behind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a fair point right here. But something not devoid of at least a little fun. Anyway, Inside Out 2 opens with $295 million worldwide, the biggest animated film opening of all time worldwide, biggest opening weekend of 2024 so far, certified fresh at 92%. I believe that biggest animated film time worldwide. I believe that might be accurate actually. I was getting confused with the domestic numbers, but a huge opening for Disney at a time when they desperately needed something. they needed a win here.
Can I posit something about that?
Please.
I think they knew they were going to be in rough waters with all these other things at this time. You will notice I'm not taking anything away from the movie. I'm happy it's a hit for them. They needed one, and that's a good thing. But there's always a but with these guys. No competition.
Oh, yeah.
In a couple of weeks, the Minions are going to eat their lunch, so they better get it while they can.
That's a very good point. We'll have to see what I mean. And here's the thing, folks. Even if there is a disparity between how many people necessarily go out to this movie or Minions 4, you have to understand too that this film is probably anywhere between 2, maybe even 3 times the budget of a Minions film from Illumination. Yes. So that's big role.
Since the first one was not exactly burning the town down with success and memories and plushies and everything else, it doesn't have the Minions, to a certain degree, doesn't have to spend as much to promote it because people know what it is. It's known quantity.
That's a very good point.
As a number 4 going strong. And by the way, number 4, if it gets anywhere close to, let alone exceeds number 2 of this string, that's a big difference too. But the other thing is, Pro was noticing earlier, somebody came out with demographics. Something like 25 to 30% of the audience for this was grown-ups of the feminine persuasion.
Oh, interesting.
And it was posited by a couple people in the chat. How many people were moms going on their own to check it out first before they dared take their kids because of what they were expecting? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's a fair point. The pre-screening has been.
And I sat there going, when's the last time that a movie as big a hit as this might have been bigger if people weren't so concerned and worried about it because of what had happened before? In other words, it's even more impressive that they did as well as they did because that's a headwind of their own making that didn't have to be there.
That's a fair point. Great points all around, honestly, because For as good as this is, man, you could have imagined how much bigger this could have been, especially because, the price of a ticket a lot more expensive than when the first one came out.
You got about 20-30% of this number is strictly inflation, maybe more.
Oh yeah. But there's no question, and there's been a more of an emphasis placed on PLFs than there ever has been before. Obviously, it's a family movie, so that, it's to a lesser degree than maybe an action movie, but it's still profoundly important right here. I love Scott Gustin's couple of tweets right here. Inside Out 2 made an estimated $155 million at the domestic weekend box office, blowing past expectations and securing the second biggest animated box office opening ever behind Incredibles 2. The global box office for Inside Out 2 sits at $295 million. But he compares it to he has this comparison. Inside Out 2, $295 million, has already surpassed Wish at the global box office for its entire theatrical run. I thought that was great. Sorry, go ahead, Luke.
Oh, go back to about 2 slides ago.
Oh, yeah. This one.
Or
this one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know, but how much more do you suppose a box of popcorn is at the movies compared to when the first one came out?
Oh man,
because of all the inflationary things we've seen in the economy, food has been one of the biggest. Okay,
yes.
Which means that part of the cost comparatively of the family of 4 of statistical, reckoning going is certainly ticket price, but it's also everything that goes with it. The cost of the gas in the car to drive to the theater, the cost.
Great point.
And that's all money that whatever the profit is, it's not going to the mouse. It's going to the theater or the popcorn company or whoever.
Right.
And with all of the flops, if we compare, and again, I'm not trying to knock this down on principle of, it's Disney and we hope they fail. Not at all. I'm just trying to say apples and oranges comparisons are not honest ones.
Yeah.
So if you figure if the same numbers happened in both cases, if they got exactly the same amount, how much benefits the company and how much offsets the flop after flop after flop after flop that the company's been making and the reputational damage that they've been making, both financially and in their business relationships with toy makers and theater owners and all the rest of it. This thing is a qualified hit, and the qualifications that make it less than wonderful are entirely of Disney's making.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% accurate. I think that's a great point to bring up here, because if Disney was maintained the trajectory that they were on in 2019, I understand there's stuff going on in 2020. I get it, but just in terms of quality level, in terms of the quality of output from that era, I mean, they could have been flying high through all of this stuff. People would have still gone to theater, still would have supported their.
I will point out that other than obviously physical restrictions on going out in the height of pandemic mania, there was this thing called the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Where people didn't have jobs or food on the table, and they still went to the movies.
Exactly.
All of these grand old movie palaces that we see that are real or that are recreated by Disney at, the Hyperion or whatever, they were all built during the Depression.
Right.
They were all this gold and luxury and everything else was built because they knew people needed to be taken out of their depression. And you were sitting there in a theater that in bygone eras, that level of opulence would have been for the Duke and the Prince and the King to go in fine furs and jewels to the opera. And you were going to see Jimmy Cagney pull out a machine gun and shoot guys, So, well, I mean, seriously, it's our culture as opposed to opera or something like that. But still, so what did Disney do? Well, you know what we can do? We can slow down and basically stop Tron, an exact imitation of something we've already done, and take an extra 2 years to build it because people aren't coming. Why should we have it finished? As opposed to, well, but at the end of those 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, the cost of steel, the cost of labor, the cost of everything is going to be 10 times higher than if we finished it and let it sit there in mothballs until people were able to come back. These all I'm trying to say is we can have our quibbles and disagreements on a creative level with movies, theme parks, whatever.
Yeah.
But from a purely business management level, these people are so terrible. And as I've said about movie budgets in particular, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's a standard process. I mentioned when the genre guys recently did Demolition Man. Great movie, big, expensive, special effects to the sky. I'd forgotten how huge that prelude is, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
But in researching the movie, I found one little line that talked about the history of the idea and who wrote it and who did the rewrite before they ever committed to turn a foot of film. 6 years developing the script. And you know what? Developing a script is a couple of guys sitting around with typewriters and a secretary talking. That doesn't cost as much as having 150 people and 500 vehicles and pyrotechnics out there in the world. And then it rains and we can't do it today. We'll have to do it tomorrow. That schedule on that movie was extended from 70 some odd days to 140 because of weather and other problems. But it still made money, and it still didn't start till it was ready, until everybody agreed that this was the script. We were talking earlier about Tiana's, and you've said that you know from inside, there were like 3 different stories kicked around before they finally settled on this one, which is not a story. They went from stories about the characters and about the people that people loved Tiana for to, hey, we're in New Orleans and we're going to have a party and we don't have any musicians. And I almost literally ROTFL'd Lorena to death when I said, oh, Lorena, it's really tough to find musicians in New Orleans, isn't it? That we have to go to a bunch of theme park guys in sweaty themed T-shirts and say, can anybody play a kazoo? Come on, we need you. I mean, if you start right and you follow the time-tested, proven ways of doing things, you don't have to go broke.
That's exactly
That's pretty darn simple. And everybody knows it. And the attitude is, yeah, big deal. We're Disney. We can get away with it. It's not, and I hate to be, political, but Margaret Thatcher once said of socialism, which I would say generically is the politics of a lot of these people. She said, the problem with it is that sooner or later you run out of other people's money.
That's a fair point. That is a very good point right here. The thing is that these movies, they gotta make some cash, and it looks like this one will. I see Lucas Nunes in the chat right there.
For the first couple of weeks, it's going to do great. And I'm telling you, it's not only that it doesn't have a competitor in its own sphere, which it will when the Minions open. What is it? 4th of July weekend, I guess it is. Yeah. But it's that there's nothing else right now.
Yeah.
What else is out there?
Well, that's the thing. Great. It's got great word of mouth. It has an open release window, free of competition. I believe it's going to be staying in the theaters. I think that Disney has stated that they are committing 100 days to this, to staying in the theaters, which is all very, very good. Well, like you said, a cinema score, so we know that's going to have that going forward. 95% from audience. Go ahead.
Remember the deal where if you bought the 3 Pixar pictures that had only been on Disney Plus and are now coming into theaters, you got a freebie for this? I sure bet they wish they hadn't done that.
Oh, I know.
They didn't get many, but every one of those tickets was a ticket that could have been revenue.
Well, we know that they're doing that for what is it, Wolverine and Deadpool. I shared it in the chat. Maybe I can get it up on screen, maybe I can't. I'm not sure. But so at my local theater, they are telling the theater, via the franchise Harkins, they're telling everybody that you can't utilize ticket offers.
Oh, right.
Wolverine,
the
Deadpool
general
specifically.
Freebies that people earn by points with the movie theaters.
Right. Because if Disney's Disney's like, okay, we're gonna get full freight for this because we know the demand is high.
Well, and think about who they're taking it from. They're taking it from the theaters, because the theaters give those discounts when they say, hey, if you buy this many tickets, we'll give you some points towards some freebies. they still have to pay the theater, the studio, the distributor of the movie that you got into for nothing. Even if they don't charge you for it, they still get charged for it. You're still a body in a seat watching that product. So the other thing to remember is whether these things have legs. As I've explained on our show just recently, it seems to me, the way the deals with the theaters work is that the studio gets the lion's share for the first couple of weeks, and then it slides down and down and down. The theater gets more and more. So the theaters have a vested interest in it having a long run. Haven't been many of those long runs lately, have there?
No.
Even the ones that had a good splashy first weekend, that was about it. They were gone. I would start seeing things being offered as rentals or on the streaming services in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And every one of those is one that nobody bought a ticket to, not directly. So
this was at my local theater on a Friday night at around 8 p.m. near ASU, so Arizona State University. Huge area, huge metropolitan area for the Phoenix area.
And what do you do if you're a college kid on a Friday night? You go to the movies.
Yeah, I think this was at before Inside Out 2, so I think it was like not last Friday, but the last Friday when there was like literally almost nothing. Nobody was there, so this is the win for Inside Out 2 is not just a win for Disney or for Pixar, and we'll get to that in a moment, but it's a win for all of us because
everybody in the food chain. Yep.
Yeah, theaters need it badly.
And if the theater needs a restaurant across the street people used to go to before the movie needs it, the store that people used to browse around in the hour before the movie needs it, the bars that people went to after the movie need it. It's a huge economy that was decimated. And I'm sorry, but you can't blame pandemics anymore.
I agree. I agree that you can't. There are other reasons for why people aren't going to the movies than just general disinterest or trends of change and all of that.
Wait a minute. Let's see here. Let me find it. Because our friend Nolte at Breitbart did a great story about this.
He uses some language, folks.
I'll be careful. But oh God. Anyway,
I think I have the article. I can.
Good. Okay.
I can bring it up. The thing I wanted to get to as well was there were rumors for a while that if Pixar couldn't get a win, that they were just going to fold that division essentially within Disney Animation and get rid of it entirely. So this is a big thing for Pixar as well. Pete Docter's got to be like big sigh of relief over this weekend for sure. Let me see here. Yep.
But he talks about he does a great rundown of all the excuses that were given for why people weren't going to the movies, as opposed to the main excuse, which was the movies were no good. Here it is. Let's see.
Yes. Disney's non-woke Inside Out 2 opens huge at the box office.
And
Disney's Pixar division
he says, but I was told 2023 strikes killed the box office. But I was told Disney killed Pixar by releasing everything too soon on Disney Plus.
Right.
But I was told sexist internet trolls always undermine the box office of female-led movies. But my butt. All the entertainment media do is lie.
Yeah. Well, they have to, right? We know this, Lou. Nobody wants to get fired. Nobody wants to, everybody wants to blame other things, not themselves, never look inward for why things might be going wrong. And so that's why these lies perpetuate the way they do, because everybody's trying to, not get the boot after these things don't actually resonate well with audiences. We just talked about how Wish and Lightyear, by the way, both of them were
sell
eclipsed.
The little cookies at Epcot. For Wish. Yeah. I mean, what the heck? No matter what it looks like, a cookie's a cookie. Have a cookie. They didn't buy it. They didn't want to be seen by their friends eating it as if it was endorsing a movie everybody hated. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 40% off all the merch at both Epcot and Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. Interesting enough, they were trying to get rid of that stuff.
By the way, are they actually selling the Galactic Star Cruiser glassware out there yet, or is it? Does anybody want that?
I thought they were folding that into the what is it, Oga's Cantina. If you get a souvenir drink there, the souvenir cup, I believe, is a glass.
Oh, okay. I thought at some point they said they were going to sell it in the souvenir stands, and a lot of people would look at it and say, "What's that?" That would be funny if you amortized the cost of the Star Cruiser over the sales revenues from the old glassware being peddled. How much of a loss on each glass they sell are they taking?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to sell a lot of glasses at a
it makes you wonder how much they bought. Markup. If they thought the thing was going to last 20 years, they might have gotten a discount buying a lot of it, and now they've got a lot of stuff to put in a warehouse somewhere.
I wonder if they have any outstanding contracts with any proprietors of stuff for that stuff too. That's the other thing. I mean,
because I've experienced stories like that. One time when I was still doing restaurant writing and stuff, I was at the big hotel in Lisbon, Portugal. And I don't know how many people out there know anything about the history of Portugal's government, but they had basically a very fascist sort of king. And after World War II, he decided, I want a big, fancy, convention-y, international conference style hotel to put us on the map as a great capital of post-war Europe. And he turned to the 12 richest families in the country and said, and you're going to pay for it. And they built this hotel that is one of the most astounding places you've ever seen. And the guys there took me all backstage of it. And in the restaurant, there was this very lovely silver sugar and creamer, kind of duet of little vessels and spoons to go with them. I said, these are lovely. He said, oh, yeah. Would you like to see more? I said, what? He said, come on. And he takes me backstage in the kitchen and down a hall. And there is a room, I am not kidding, about a third as big as the CommuniCore Center, empty, packed from floor to ceiling with these things in their little cardboard boxes because they bought enough to last longer than thousands and thousands of little creamer and sugar bowls. Imagine about a third of that space from floor to ceiling, just in case. And this was in, it had to be the 90s I was there, and the hotel opened in 52, 3, 4. So they hadn't used it up yet. So, but they got the bulk discount, right? So anyway, all I'm saying is the problems that we're discussing all the time, sadly, and we are sad about it. I'm sad about it. I'm sad that this is what Epcot's come to. But the problems are not that there aren't creative people, that there aren't artists, that there aren't musicians, that there aren't people with dreams and visions. Heck, all of you out there have your dreams and visions. And I bet a lot of you at one time, like me, like a lot of people thought, boy, I would kill to work at Imagineering. The problem is the people in charge, the managers, the business demons, the people on their rides of a lifetime are going somewhere else. They're on a ride to someplace no e-ticket has gone before, okay? And the funny thing is, the people with leaden vision, the people with that don't hear the rhythm of the music, that don't see that can't imagine the magic their eyes can see of the children, they're bad managers too. They're really, 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 really incompetent people that, well, I wouldn't lend them my money. And there's no financial advice on these channels, but these people don't know what they're doing. And
I agree.
They were given a gift. Anyway, I'm rattling on again. I do that. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I just want to make people aware. We are going to be redirecting straight to Mr. H's show.
Good.
This stream right here. We're going to be winding down here. I just want to go ahead and get to the super chats. I forgot to get to these after Bob left. I do very much apologize, guys. I know I've been sitting on them for a while. So, Ruby Hoove with a amazing $3 super sticker, and I believe it's a hippo waving next time. So thank you so much, Ruby Hoove, for that. Very much appreciated.
Or a wolf, or It's some animal or another. Anyway.
Yes. It's HI Dragonstar with $5. Thank you. I watched some comparisons between Tiana and Splash. One thing I noticed is that Tiana has constant stimulation, either audio or visual, too much. Yeah, they are attempting to leverage these animatronic figures as much as possible, but their movements are so wild, they don't come off as realistic. So that's, it's like, okay, we are paying a lot for these figures, and they are, folks. They really are. And it's like, oh, we want to showcase that these are far more are far better figures than what came before them, but they're not doing it well. And that was my problem with the showcase that they had on one of the Imagineering videos. They were showing these figures moving in the warehouse, and I was like, okay, yeah, but people don't necessarily move like that. And from what I understand, if you look back at that Imagineering video, and if you compare the movements of those figures to the ones actually featured in the attraction itself, notice how they're a little bit less articulate. They're a little bit pared down. That might be a reason, folks. Just saying.
Yeah.
Dan's Life at the Kingdom with the 199. Thank you so much there. Lewis froze like it's running Windows 95. Yeah. So it's bad, folks. This is what is being referenced right here. If you guys didn't see it before, watch this video right here. This is from the Splash Mountain channel. See right here. Right there. Just completely freezes. Mid show scene. So that's how that's going. And again, that channel, which by the way, folks, everybody go over here and check it out because it's really, really cool. The Splash Mountain channel, awesome stuff. A lot of great footage from not just this attraction, but Splash Mountain itself. So very, very cool. Let's see here. We have yes, we got that one. Go Shogi with the 199. Thank you, sir. TBA gives the same energy as a pop-up restaurant. Yeah, it's tough.
But what letter's on the health department sign outside of that restaurant? Not an A.
Is it F, I'm guessing? Go ahead, Lou.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh no, I always find those signs funny, at least in the California area, because you see those letters on all of the restaurants there, and they're all A's, even like the ones where it's like, okay, how'd you get an A kind of thing. And so when you pass by a B or something, it's like, okay, never go in there. The standards.
But of course, the reason you see all of those signs is that they have to justify the budget and the number of people hired to go around and hand out A's. If you didn't see them and the budget came up for renewal and they said, so how many people are actually doing this? They don't even ask because, I see you're all over town. Good for you.
Very good point. Let's see here. HI Dragonstar with a $5 again. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for everybody for super chatting. By the way, if I don't say thank you enough, please, I'm saying thank you again because
if you don't, nobody does.
Disney is in alpha. They probably won't have a working system until people wait for the patches to get finished and have some paid DLC. Yeah, exactly right. It's like a video game. I can tell you right now, maintenance and ops, they're very upset. They're very upset that this thing is not nearly as reliable as was implied, maybe even promised. So we're trying to get to the heart of that story.
That at least some of the people in Imagineering are equally upset because they were given an agenda without enough time or money to do it right.
Exactly.
And they feel like they're being blamed for management decisions that force their hand. And now when it gets handed over to ops and it doesn't work, they get left holding the bag.
I was talking with an Imagineer, ex-Imagineer about this, actually, about this handoff and how the tension, not only within Imagineering, but from Imagineering to ops about delivering something and telling ops the capabilities, telling them how to maintain it, and ops not doing that. There's a lot of, back and forth there, and sometimes it can be contentious as well. So
I'll bet.
I've heard
in
it's
the
contentious
best of
now.
all possible worlds, it's contentious because it's built to be that way. That's the nature of creation versus maintenance. But it doesn't help when it doesn't work.
That's true. That's true. HI Dragon Star again. Man, thank you so much. That's collectively, I think, like $15. So thank you very much for that. Is it me, or does Disney need to play Roller Coaster Tycoon? It seems that they need someone who needs to at least know the basics of that game. Yeah, I know. Everybody working at least operations at Disney, but perhaps Imagineering as well, would be better served if they played Roller Coaster Tycoon. I don't know if you played it, Lou, but if you have, you know that
sure,
like there's an economy to what you build within that system. So earlier incarnations of that game were just roller coaster focused. Then they started taking on the theme park as a whole, and so like every single thing that you do, the stands that you put up, the restrooms that you have, everything, it's all, you get to see the ecosystem of a theme park operation.
The maintenance guys and the security.
Right.
And of course, Planet Coaster is even better, of course. But
yeah, I have heard it's better.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh, that's
and
great.
And then they have Planet Zoo now. He's even bigger, I understand.
Ooh, yeah, because didn't the Typhoon kind of offshoot from there or something like that?
Competing software companies, but I'm not sure how many people went from one to the other or back again. And
gotcha.
But that brings up the point about EPCOT and about CommuniCore.
Yes.
The first thing that happened to CommuniCore was that the world copied it, by which I mean all of those amazing exhibits were totally unreal when that opened in 82. And now every science and industry museum in the world has the equivalent. And I remember the number one thing that they promoted of all the things you could do was that build your own roller coaster thing, talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon, which was a wire form roller coaster deal where you manipulated the exhibit to put a lift hill here and whatever there. And then you got to, quote unquote, ride your roller coaster on a screen, all wire form, nothing fancy. Well, that was a big deal. And then the world said, yes, it's a big deal. We're going to do it too. And Disney got left behind and eventually just yanked it all out, as opposed to saying, yeah, you think that's big, look what we got coming next.
Well, now I don't think they yanked it all out, Lou. They just, you know what happened? They just caught up. That's what they did. They caught up.
Yeah.
and instead of looking to the future.
Well, and when they did this, when they redid the stores and made them look like Apple stores or Starbucks stores, as opposed to Disney. I mean, do we dare say the Genslerization of EPCOT?
So
and I mean, the thing that gets me about this is not the big empty nothing that it is. It's the really crummy furniture.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the chosen for durability, not for looks. And why can't you have both? You're Disney.
And just to put a better note on that, folks, I know we're running over time, but I think it's really important to get to at least some of this stuff. The furniture choices that were made before, and Futureport has like a kind of a couple big threads on the history of this specific Epcot building and facility. It just was far more inviting. It had far more.
And most
character.
people don't know that those high ceilings in that curved corridor were because there was supposed to be a people mover going by overhead.
Yes.
Inside these buildings. That's why they had that tall ceiling around the rim, because there was going to be an overhead track with a people mover taking you around the whole thing that never happened.
Totally forgot about that, but you were exactly 100% right, Lou. The ambitions for this were probably more than could be stomached at that time for the Walt Disney Company, because this project was so expensive. But it just, you look at the history of some of this stuff and you look at the amazing design work, and I understand people are like, well, it's dated. Okay, yeah, but it had a lot more character. That is for sure. It didn't look like you could just, hire a new design firm to do this.
And the unforgivable sin was taking that fountain out.
Yeah. The Fountain of Nations.
It made you, after whatever show was happening in the lagoon and you were heading back to your car and you were walking past this at night with the light like that, it was invigorating. It was exciting. That fountain was more of a kiss goodnight than the fireworks. It really was. And now we've got a ghost of Walt in Bad Monster lighting you could sit next to. How about that? And we've got lights in the ground that don't work. How about some of those? Would you like that? We'll give you that.
Some media is starting to kind of turn on this a little bit and acknowledge some of these deficiencies right here. You'll remember that Mike wrote the incredible article suggesting that Tiana was a downgrade, but a necessary downgrade. Now he has CommuniCore Hall is embarrassing. The final piece of the EPCOT overhaul puzzle is now in place, and to say that the multi-year overhaul project limped across the finish line would be an understatement. And on top of the onion piece, at the top of the opinion piece, I want to be clear, there are some real winners when it comes to the EPCOT overhaul project.
Lateral to slightly positive? He's still singing the same tune. He's just realizing his embarrassment from the other one.
Yeah, well, that's a
lateral to slightly positive sounds like a downgrade, but a necessary one.
Okay, that's probably accurate right here. The expectations versus reality of the overhaul as a whole certainly leaves some to be desired. We'll have an actual expectations versus reality article later, but CommuniCore Hall is so uniquely terrible that it really deserves its own article. It's bad.
To Disney when naming things. Don't call something that looks like a hall a hall. Halls go in with words like concert hall, not, it's the hall. Big deal.
I think, what was it? I think Jim Scholl had some commentary on this. This isn't the exact tweet I was looking for, but I think Jim Scholl was like, yeah, why is it called CommuniCore Hall? Like that's a weird thing to even have that name in the first place. So Lou, you're on the right track there, because an ex-Imagineer is saying the
why is there a lightning lane to Mickey and Friends?
They do lightning lanes for meet and greets out there.
But, that's the meet and greet. I thought it was just for the store. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's.
Would you like to shop in our lovely store ahead of the guy next to you for $20 and it's yours?
When they start doing that, oh man, oh boy. Let's hope it never gets to that point where we know it
like that. You know what the concrete block triangle wall looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Every building in Phoenix and Palm Springs.
Yes.
In the summertime.
Yes.
That whole minimalist desert concrete block wall look. You and I grew up with that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I do know that,
Lou,
absolutely.
You know they're salivating.
I'm about to get a telephone call. Sorry.
Oh, you're completely fine. It's Disney. They want you to stop calling out all of the stuff that they took inspiration from. Lou. That's what it is. Very uninspired. It's so sad to see.
What about the roll around planters? What the heck is that about?
Well, maybe temporary. I don't know.
I mean, is it to convince you that there's something else coming when it isn't? Look, we'll just put up a bunch of hedges. No, put them in roll around planters. They'll think they're going to go away.
So this might have been for the media.
Cloaking devices. Did you see the Bayou reconstructs description? Cloaking devices.
Didn't even catch that.
I did. Great. I just looked over there and said cloaking.
If you think this is depressing, the show is even more depressing. This is from undercovertours.com right here. Yeah, not so good right there.
I wonder how these people who are doing a bang-up job of being energetic, how do they feel that there's nobody there? I mean, there's supposed to be people crowded around that bandstand like an excited group of, but no.
Yeah.
And trivia. I see. I see.
See, that's
what
what you
does
go
hermana
to.
mean? It means get out of here, brother, before the show starts.
Well, see, Lou,
Sister, pardon me.
the cost to get into Epcot over the weekend, per day, not a park hop or not nothing, was $160. That's before tax. Did you really pay $160 per day to be in this park specifically to play trivia? I don't think so. This just is a half-hearted effort from Disney all around. They could have done something really special with the show. Instead, they went with essentially a dance party again.
They should have put these pseudo Mexican Spanish colors on the ladies hanging from the balls and and moved it over here. The gymnast twirlers or whatever they were, the pole dancing girls,
Oh yes, I see the aerial act. Yeah.
And by the way, look at this show and look over at the column on the right. What's the first thing?
I know.
Sensational show at Universal Studios.
What a great point right here. This show, everybody, is absolutely phenomenal. If you have not seen this, go check it out. I think we might dedicate a little bit of screen time to this on the next show, but it is just sensational, as the description implies. That Park Place with the $5. Lou, Vash, you are the best. That's not me, folks. That was Jonas. I swear.
Jonas, I'll get the $5 to you for the plug right after the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonas, for that. I think he's also telling me maybe, hey, wrap it up, guys. All right.
Yeah,
all right,
time to.
We'll get there again. Thank you so much, T-Port Martin.
So
Punk Waddle.
Punk Waddle. Exactly, Punk Waddle. At their closeout store. At the one that they're shutting down to make room for the Halloween store.
I don't know why it's so bad, Lou. I don't know why it's so bad. I could talk about this forever, but we have to sign off here to give.
Well,
Mr.
let me
H
ask you,
please.
I'm going to turn the tables. So, Vash, where can people find you? What are you going to be doing? What are you?
Well, okay. Well, I think
that thing.
Yeah, that thing. I think the thing that we are going to be doing very, very soon here, at least on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, is Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you live. That's what we're going to be doing.
We're going to do the following Sunday because I'll be on the road. I'll be out there in the tram driving around the backlot. So,
hey, well, there you go, Lou. I love that right there. We will, yes, we will have some programming to make up for that. Either we'll do a traditional Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, or we'll do something where we reschedule a live. We'll do something. Don't even worry about that. But that's to figure out right there. And Lou, you have something on the genre, guys, that I think you're downplaying it, Lou. I think people are very much excited for the film that you're covering. What film did you just cover recently?
Well, it wasn't just us. It was the genre guys teamed up with the Lost guys. And boy, did we get lost. Lost in the vast creative wastes of Travolta land, which would have been better than that Epcot place. We did that infamous worst movie of all time, John Travolta and the breathable snot trailers, Battlefield Earth, which Hangry Tables has been obsessed with us doing this movie forever. And so we did. And, we did. What can I say? We will redeem ourselves, however, with the next one, because we've got a slate of movies that everything else that's on our list is something I like and want to do. This one, we fought for a while before giving in, and only to have the unindicted co-conspirators from the Lost Guys join us. I will say that Battlefield Earth was not quite as awful as I thought it was going to be. I will say that Forrest Whitaker is really good in it, in a terrible movie. I will say that other than that, it's not funny enough to be watchable. Roger Ebert in his review said that it was like seeing people you hadn't seen in a long time who hadn't taken a bath lately. the feeling of watching it.
Man.
And he talked about the style of filmmaking where they camp the camera in different angles, which is called Dutch angles. He said the director of this movie knew all about Dutch angles. What he didn't know was why or why not to do them, and he just did them all. So anyway, it's one of these future apocalyptic, the world has gone to hell and our heroes are going to save them, and I don't think I trust them. It was not a hero's journey, as they say. Anyway, enough about that. But coming up next after that, of course, next on this channel are all of the ones we've already, I don't know what's next here of the vintage ones.
I have the list.
Well, anyway, we did some great
remember,
movies,
but
and you'll see them. And but the next one we're doing for the first run is a charming, wonderful, fantastic movie that happens to have the great Burt Lancaster in it and Peter Riegert and Scotland. And it is called Local Hero. And if you don't know about it, go rent it now and avoid the rush and be ready for us when we do it or afterwards. Either way works. And we have some great pictures coming up in the future. We've got, anybody seen Alvarez Kelly? William Holden as a cattleman during Civil War, who's basically apolitical and willing to sell his herd to either side. And Richard Widmark is in that one. We're going to do I Happened Across, surprise, the original Airport, and watched it again. And I got to tell you something. It's damn good. And you forget until you watch that movie how when he got serious and really cared, Dean Martin is a fantastic movie actor. Fantastic. And of course, that whole picture, which is also Lancaster, is great. And God, I'm just trying to think through all the... Anyway, what we do is we take a great movie and we talk about it for an hour.
Right.
And we say interesting things. And that's me and Hangry Tables and Lauren, the great Star Wars genius and great guy otherwise too. But and we just did, talk about a great movie. We just did Gunga Din, which Lauren had always wanted to see it because, of course, Indy and the Temple of Doom drew a lot of its stuff from Gunga Din. Mm-hmm. But this movie, aside from having, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine and all these great people, and talk about a career. George Stevens, the director of this 1936-7-8 movie about the English army in India and the rise of the evil Tuggees. His next to last movie was Giant with Rock Hudson and James Dean and Elizabeth Taylor. So talk about a panoply of styles. But let me tell you something, folks. This movie shot with no CGI and no camera tricks and just a bunch of guys and horses and guns. The battle sequence at the end is every bit as big as the big battles in Lord of the Rings. Oh. And I am not exaggerating. You'll be stunned at how good it is. Oh. Where the wilds of Lone Pine, California, double for the Khyber Pass. Anyway, I could go on all day, and I probably will if you don't stop me. So that's what the Genre Guys is. And then, of course, I show up on all these other shows like this one just because I'm, slumming.
Thanks, Lou. Speaking of the Genre Guys, the next one on this channel is going to be Mad Mad World.
Just looking up right now. With a cast of everybody in the world.
Yes. It looks feature rich here.
Have you ever seen it?
I have not, admittedly.
Oh my goodness. A vital part of your cinematic education has been neglected, sir. Any movie that stars Jonathan Winters and Spencer Tracy's got to be good, right? Talk about a range. And Buddy Hackett and Mickey Rooney and Jim Backus and Milton Berle and Ethel Merman and Sid Caesar. And we could go on like this for another 10 minutes. The cast is so huge. And it's funny. You'll like it. It'll take away your pain from Tiana's not funny adventure. So anyway.
That's for sure. And that's coming on Friday for sure right there.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. But
so you get the idea, folks out there. It's variety. And it is proof, as if you needed it, that just because the last few years have not exactly been the greatest in the history of Hollywood, there's plenty of great, wonderful, wholesome, funny, adventuresome, exciting, watchable, repeat watchable entertainment out there as near as your hard media store. We advise everybody, buy the damn disc so they can't edit it later and put trigger warnings in it and otherwise ruin it.
I agree. And 80s Man, I will absolutely take your advice on the uncut extended version right there. Lou, I think it's time for us to depart. You'll be redirected to Mr. H right now. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. If you like this comment, make sure to hit the like button on your way out. And if you did dislike it, well, you can dislike it as well, I suppose, and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'd like to always improve. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Share this video if you really do love our content. And thank you so much for watching T3PO. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.